talk now. This MMA, what we talking about? Yeah, you tuned into the pod now. Gonna be hard for you to stop now. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in.
Welcome back to another episode of Caged In. I'm your host, Chris DiCarlo. Today we got a very special guest making his return to the show. It's my guy, Joe Skeletor Giannetti. How we doing today, homie?
I'm doing good. Just resting before we get back to the gym.
Hell yeah, man. Love to hear it. You got a big one coming up. Return to Cage Titans, man. We've been waiting for you to come back to Plymouth. It's finally happening. Cage Titans 73 versus a game opponent in Dakota Bush, going down September 13th, that Saturday of Fight Fest weekend. Before we dive into that, man, I do want to go back and recap LFA. We previewed it last time. Now I just want to go back and touch on that one real quick, man. So LFA 204, you go in there and collect the first round finish of Leonardo Limburger. Rocked him with that huge up kick, big elbows from bottom. Did you think he was out at that point? Because it certainly looked like the lights went out for a bit there.
It was weird. Like, it happened in slow-mo for me when it all happened live. But when I hit that kick, I say to people all the time, like, same thing with like a regular knockout, or like people always say, like, it's like a baseball bat. Like, you don't feel the ball come off the bat when you hit a home run. I didn't think that I hit him that flush with my foot, but I knew I connected. And then he just fell into my guard. And for a second, I think he was completely out. And then he kind of started getting his wits back together. So that's when I was like, all right, I got to get my foot on the gas and just keep hitting him as much as I can. That's why I just started spamming elbows.
Yeah, you might have woke him up with some of those elbows.
For sure. He started moving because I was like, oh, fight's over. All right, cool. And then he moved and I was like, oh, shit, I got to keep going.
Yeah, man. And then, you hit that scramble to get him into triangle, land more big elbows and punches before Dan Mercogliata gets in there and breaks it up. And you get the TKO victory in that first round. How'd it feel to go out there, man, and perform like that, get a finish like that on a stage like LFA?
It was awesome. It was a lot of firsts. It was my first win at LFA. It was the first time I'd ever fought at Foxwoods. So it was all really cool. And then I had all my friends and family there sitting close to the cage. So it was awesome. I jumped over on top of the cage, was saying what's up, like celebrating. And then as soon as I got cleared by the doctor afterwards, got my check and went and found my people. We just like went and had like a really good night. And obviously riding the high off the win, but like the vibes were like really good. We closed down the casino at our end of the hotel. We were at the blackjack table till the pit boss came over and was like, all right, you guys got to go. You can go to the main casino. And I was like, wait a minute, what?
Hell yeah, man. That's awesome. I mean, like, talk about a great place to fight. It's like Foxwoods. You just got like built-in entertainment after the fight at that point. So that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it was awesome. We went to Johnny Rockets afterwards, smashed some burgers and milkshakes. It was a great night.
Of course, man. You got to. I know in the preview you talked about redeeming yourself from a couple LFA losses beforehand. Did this win over Limburger kind of like fill that void for you?
Yeah, 100%, because especially where I don't want to say my LFA fights prior to that one were controversial. Brant Moore beat me pretty handedly, kind of just laid on top of me for 3 rounds. And then the Aaron McKenzie fight was super, super close. And it was a unanimous decision that everybody thought not shouldn't have been a split decision. I should have probably won that fight. But I missed weight for that fight. So I always just kind of chalk that stuff up to there were other things I could have done better and maybe a little bit of bad karma for missing weight. So I don't hold my head too much on it. But I still obviously wanted to get that win because it was always hanging over my head, when I'm trying to make my case for like being in the UFC. Being 0-2 in LFA is never a good look. So getting that first win back and being like, no, I belong here. I can hang with these guys. I can beat these guys. And even though I might have lost 2 unanimous decisions, like, it didn't tell the full story.
Yeah, man, for sure. And you also won performance of the night with your finish there at LFA 204. How did it feel to get that little extra added bonus to the win money?
It was awesome. I think that's what kept us at the blackjack table a little longer, and we went up with it. So it was a good night.
Hell yeah, man. Love that. I do want to talk about the gym you just opened, Giannetti Martial Arts. Opened up your own gym in Whitman, Mass, which I know was a huge, life and career goal for you as well. Just tell me, the story behind the gym, man. What's Giannetti Martial Arts all about? And what does it mean to you to have this facility now?
Yeah, man. Like you said, it was something that I've always been planning to do, and people always asked, like, when are you going to open a gym? And I just never knew when it would happen. I just knew it would happen. My biggest concern was always like, oh, I don't want running a gym to take away from my own training, because when I do step into that coach role, even when I was just doing private lessons with people before the gym, like, I was fully embedded in that coach role. Like, I would want these goals for my clients more than they wanted it for themselves sometimes. So I was always worried that, like I'd get people to sign up and then I'd have a fight and then I'd really just kind of hone in on their training and it would take away from mine. But I think because I was so worried about that, I've been able to balance it really well. And everybody that's at Giannetti Martial Arts right now has like made it a point to be like, listen, we get it. We know what you're trying to do, but like you have a fight. So if we're doing shark bait tonight, instead of doing shark bait on us, like we'll do shark bait on you. So like I just have a really good team over there already. And we've only been open a couple months, but yeah, so we had the setup in my dad's garage and then he ended up moving in with his fiance. And he told me like, hey, you got a couple months and then we got to get out of here. I was like, all right, cool. And then I kind of was looking around. I did the storage unit for one summer, like working out of that. That sucked. That's when it started getting cold out. I didn't feel like doing that again. So I was like, all right, maybe it's time to open a gym. So I started looking around at local buildings. I started writing up business plans and reaching out to potential investors. And we got a couple investors and I found a unit that was right down the street from my house. One that I used to joke about with my wife all the time, like, oh, it'd be really cool if we had a gym right there. It's like a minute away from the apartment. It's near the center of town. And sure enough, like the stars aligned and we got it to happen. So it's been really cool. The opening day was awesome. There was hundreds and hundreds of people in and out. And yeah, we've had a good crew ever since, even people that we have regulars that just drop in, they're not full members of our gym, but they're just like, hey man, I want to come get work with you guys. And that's what we're all about. We had a couple people from the last Cage Titans card come in and just cut weight in our saunas. I put that open invite on my Instagram story. So it's just been something really cool that, outside of me stepping in the cage, it's a way to be involved in the MMA community and just the martial arts community in a good way. And it's way less stressful, and inviting somebody to come cut weight or like some kid that wants to learn self-defense and coming in so I can coach him. It's way less stressful than being like, all right, I got to fight in 3 weeks. So I got to train my ass off every day and specifically do things. So it's instilled a little bit more fun into the routine. And like I said, I'm lucky. We've got a crew that already just has that team vibe. And that's really what I want, as a coach, I want everybody to accomplish their goals, no matter what they are, whether it's local champ, world champ, lose 30 pounds, whatever. And as a gym owner, I want to be one of the best gyms in the world. I already have visions for when this lease is up years from now and how I'd want to expand and, what I'd like to add to the gym. And like I said, I've got a really good crew that all have their own different goals that we're all pushing each other to get. And that's really what it comes down to at Giannetti Martial Arts is like, I want you guys in there training your ass off. My job is to push you and teach you. We've already had plenty of nights where guys are like, oh, I can't do one more round. And I was like, that sucks because you're doing one more round. But yeah, after training, we'll sit there for an hour, everybody goes showers and we'll sit there and we'll just shoot the shit and like talk about life and stuff like that. And yeah, we've got a really tight knit unit and I'm just lucky to have those guys already. So I'm excited to see what we have coming to us in the future.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I love to hear that. Talking about you talked about your training camp a little bit, man. How has training camp now changed for you now that you are a gym owner? Because I know you were always over at Marzelli's and you were over at New England Cartel. Are you still mixing those ones in as well, or is everything kind of like central to you at Giannetti Martial Arts now?
So unfortunately, like I haven't been at Jair's enough, not enough, but a lot in the past couple months. But I've been talking to him all the time, and I've told him like, any days that you guys have anything that would be more no-gi related and aimed more towards my fight, like I'll come in during the daytime in a heartbeat. I'm still going to the cartel, 2-3 days a week, and then I'm at my gym every single day. And it's been a nice change of pace though, because even in my live rounds, whether they're at my gym or at the cartel or wherever, people are like, oh, you feel really good here. You're doing really good there. You're doing a lot better in certain positions. And I think it's just from teaching people. And I've said it over and over again, like a broken record to a couple people already. Before I opened the gym, I saw some quote that was like, teaching once is learning twice. And I'm feeling that now in my own training where moves that I used to do all the time or I do all the time or certain positions, I'm sharpening those up just by teaching classes because now I have to break down everything, make sure I'm not missing a step, and then go through and like, why am I doing this? When would I do this? And I mean, now it's like, it's also kind of one of those things where it forces my hand at work with my dad, where I'm like, hey, I can only work these hours because I've got my own business I got to run. I'm in my gym like 5-6 hours a day, which is my dream. Obviously I still got to go to work at night, which isn't the dream. But we're only doing it until we don't have to anymore. So, I'm living a lot closer to the lifestyle that I want to live. I train 5-6 hours a day, and then I rest, and then I go to work, and then I do it all over again. So I'm very blessed and very happy. And yeah, I'm very happy with my training for this camp.
Awesome, man. I love to hear that. If anybody's listening and is interested in, checking out Giannetti Martial Arts or is interested in signing up and being a member, where do they go and what do those membership plans look like for them?
Yeah, so we're at Giannetti Martial Arts on every social media platform. Your first week's free to try it out. I always see people like, oh, we've got a trial class, but we offer so many different classes. We've got MMA, kickboxing, no-gi jiu-jitsu, wrestling for adults and kids that, I give you the first week free because I want you to come in and try every single class. So it's not just like, oh, well, I like your kickboxing class, but that's only a couple times a week. It's like we have so many classes to offer. I want you to know that you could come here every day, even for one class a day, and still get something that you're looking for. So it's $150 a month starting for adults, $100 for kids. We have first responders discounts. We have military discounts. We have like annual and semi-annual packages. You'll save every month when you pay up front. Basically just trying to make it so that everybody has a way to train in the most affordable way possible. At this point, like obviously I'm a business. Obviously the goal is to make money. But like it's one of those things where like I want people getting in the door and training because I know martial arts was a literal lifesaver for me when I was a teenager. So if it's like, oh, I really can't afford $150, but I'm a first responder, it's like boom, here's your discount. Or it's like, oh, I can pay you up front for the year and save $500 over the year. Like then yeah, come in and train.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that catch-22 of like obviously I'm trying to make money, but I want to get people in the door because I want to do what I can with this. It's a much more selfless thing than fighting. Like everybody always says fighters are selfish, and it's 100% true. As a fighter, I'll always be the most selfish person in the room, but as a gym owner, like I'll always be the most selfless. Like I want you guys in the door. I want you getting better. And like I said, we already have people in there that have so many different goals. Some guys want to fight once. Some guys want to fight over and over again. Some people just are getting picked on at school and they just want to learn how to defend themselves. And it's like, cool, I got picked on at school. It's how I got into this. Like, and so that's what we're working on. So yeah, whatever you need as far as martial arts, or just fitness, getting in shape, we've got a weight section and stuff like that. Giannetti Martial Arts is a spot for you. We'll make it work.
Hell yeah, man. That's awesome. Let's dive into Cage Titan 73 a little bit, man. You're going in there, Plymouth Memorial Hall, of course, Cage Titan 73, September 13th. You're taking on Dakota Bush, who is 14-4. What do you know about Dakota Bush? And then how do you feel about him as an opponent?
I know that he's a gamer, man, and I know he not just a gamer because of where he's fought and who he's fought, but because of where he trains and who he trains with. He trains with Dustin Poirier, Matus Gamrot, Grant Dawson. Those are just some of the best in the world at our weight class alone. So, training with those guys every day, I know like you're about the grind. I know you're gonna push the pace and you're willing to die in that cage. So I'm really excited for this fight. It's another one of those fights where it's a big test for myself. I'm a big test for him. And, I truly do think that I'll probably be the underdog going in this fight, which objectively I understand, but this is my fight to win and this is his fight to lose. So I do think that stylistically, this is a good fight for me, even if on paper it doesn't look so great for me.
Right, man. You mentioned the styles. When you break it down, skill versus skill, what aspects of MMA do you feel like you have the advantage in? And is there any other areas that you think he might give you some problems in?
Honestly, like, in the most humble way possible, I just think I'm better everywhere. I think for him, I think maybe his pacing and his physicality could be a problem. But I've trained with some of the best in the world too. I've seen every type of body type. I've fought just about everybody. And I'm kind of getting to that point in my career where it's just like I've fought every style. I fought a guy that was 6'7", up a weight class. I've kind of done it all as far as like types of fighters. Now it's just a matter of fighting guys with better skill sets and maybe more athleticism, maybe better cardio. But I think that Dakota Bush will probably be the closest to a UFC level opponent that I'm going to get outside of the UFC. And so do I think if I beat him, the UFC comes calling like we got to have you? I have no friggin' idea at this point. I've given up on trying to figure out what they're thinking, but I beat Dakota Bush in dominant fashion like I plan on. I mean, what else do you need me to do? I've had my good times in the cage. I've had my bad days in the cage. But at the end of the day, it's like I'll fight whoever you put in front of me. I'm always trying to test myself. They're these guys that fight absolute nobodies, and then are like, why aren't I in the UFC? I'm the best around. And it's like, you gave me a couple bums off the street. You'd think I belong in the UFC too. So I got a really game opponent in front of me, and I'm looking forward to dominating and seeing what happens after that.
Yeah, man. You mentioned Dakota Bush being a game opponent. He is a former UFC athlete, 0-2 in there versus Austin Hubbard and Slava Claus, two people that, the fans know very well. What does a win over Dakota Bush mean for you and your career? And you mentioned, going in as the underdog. Does that light a little bit of a fire under your ass even more?
Yeah, 100%. I know he's probably looking at it like he's coming into enemy territory. Little does he know there is a good amount of people in the local area that aren't a fan of me. So I think he's going to be surprised how many people are actually cheering for him. But yeah, just as a competitor, like forget what promotions we fought for, what belts we had. As a competitor, I'm looking forward to testing myself against him. And I think that when I do beat him, no matter what happens in my career moving forward, like people are going to look at me and be like, oh, I'm that guy. I can already tell that between the time off from my LFA fight and the loss before the LFA fight and before the karate combat fight, people kind of almost feel like I fell off, and it is what it is. But when those people come crawling back after this win, you're not welcome. Hype train already took off.
Hell yeah, man. Last year after that last Cage Titans fight, or even not even after the fight, leading up to that fight, you had mentioned that was going to be your last, regional fight in New England for a while. Why was now the right time for you to come back to Cage Titans?
Honestly, it was just one of those things where between, Cage Titans and Cage Titans fans blowing up my DMs, when are you and Pete going to run it back? Oh, the Cage Titans lightweight belt's not doing anything. Oh, the lightweight division sucks. We miss you at Memorial Hall. And that on top of me just wanting to be active, LFA hasn't been really coming around here, and they're coming back in November, but they haven't been around since. So we never really got the stars to align for another fight with them across the country. And then, I wasn't really getting any fights anywhere else. So it's just one of those things where it's like, I'm a gamer. I got to stay active and keep competing. And then, like I said, that on top of everybody begging me to come back, it's like I'm back. Like I said, I know there's plenty of people that are like, oh, this freaking guy's back again. But, if you guys could just keep it moving in the lightweight division, you wouldn't have to see my face anymore. We've got up and comers. We've got potential contenders. We've got a missing champion. I'm just here to save the division.
Hey, man. Are you looking forward to, making that walk at the Memorial Hall again? Because I know you built such a solid fan base here in Plymouth. And like you said, the fans have missed you inside the hall. Are you excited to, make that walk again inside the Plymouth Memorial Hall?
Of course. And I feel like there's a little bit of a weight off my chest. I feel like this is just going to be a lot more fun, because there has been that break of like I went and fought a karate combat, and that was wicked fun. I got the win over there, and I went and fought at LFA at Foxwoods and got my first win over there. So now it's just kind of like, sure, like I'll double back real quick, when after my last loss to Cage Titans and I started doing these other fights, I was like, they're just kind of like side quests. Now we're kind of doubling back onto like the main mission and just going to have fun with it. And I think that everybody's going to see that when they announce me, when I walk out of Plymouth Memorial Hall. I think there's going to be a couple of boos. I think there's going to be a lot more cheering. And then I think you guys are really going to enjoy this fight.
Hell yeah, man. I'm very excited to see you back inside the hall as well. It's always a good time whenever Skeletor shows up because the place is always packed out there in the main event. You know how it goes when the fight card starts, it's packed and it kind of starts to dwindle out. And then by the time you get to the main event, it gets kind of empty in there. But whenever there's a big local name like you on the card, the place seems to be a little bit more full by the time the main event hits, man. So I'm very excited for that energy to kind of keep rolling for the rest of the night.
Yep, and that's what I want to bring. I want to bring all that energy. Whether you love me or you hate me, you guys are going to be sitting there watching, and I'm really excited for it.
Hell yeah, man. What can the fans that are coming out to see you on September 13th expect from the return of Skeletor inside the Plymouth Memorial Hall?
I think you guys can expect the unexpected. We've got a lot of tricks in the bag and a lot of things that I've been brushing up on that I, maybe fell off a little bit as far as my techniques and my mentality wise when it comes to fighting. But I think we're in a really good place. I think that you guys are going to be excited to see what I come to bring.
Awesome, man. And what has been your favorite part in between like the Cage Titans, appearances you made? Obviously, you had the last one, then you had a couple cool fights in there with Karate Combat and LFA, and now you're back. In that window between the two, man, what's been your favorite part about your journey?
Just seeing what offers are on the table. There was for a little bit I was trying to get on Mike Perry's Dirty Boxing. I think that would have been a blast too. So, if Mike Perry ends up seeing this, I'm still down for some dirty boxing. Like I said, it's just having fun with it and hitting a couple of these side quests on the way to the main mission. I'm still training to be one of the best MMA fighters in the world. And that's why, everybody's like, oh, I thought for sure you were going to stay with Karate Combat. And don't get me wrong, I'm down to chase that Karate Combat title. But, the main goal has always been to be the best in the world. And I think that one thing people are going to finally start to realize about me, whether you love it or hate it, you see the vision or you don't, is like I don't sell out on my dream that quick. Like maybe I could go to karate combat and chase that belt and be a world champ, but the main goal has always been an MMA world champion. And it's not going to be that easy to deter me or change directions on that goal.
Hell yeah, man. I love to hear that. Joe, I appreciate you coming on and chopping it up with me as always, man. It's always a pleasure catching up. Before I let you go, where can the people come find you on social media? Where can they come find the gym on social media? And then anybody that you want to thank or shout out, now's your time.
Yeah, same as always, at Giannetti MMA, you guys can come find my personal social media. At Giannetti Martial Arts, you can find the gym. Follow along for now, help blow up the pages. And if you like what you see on the socials, then come by and check out the gym. First week's free. And I just, thank you to everybody that's already bought tickets, T-shirts, everybody that's planning on doing so, or even if you're getting tickets from somebody else, but you're coming out to support. I appreciate you guys, all my sponsors, 2 Fight Bros. Everybody's been really awesome leading back to this fight, and I'm excited to put on a show for you guys.
Hell yeah, man. Joe, appreciate the time as always, brother. Best of luck on September 13th. I'll see you in there, man.
Yes, sir. See you later, bro.
Got down for the count and he can't even talk now. This MMA, what we talking about? Yeah, you tuned into the pod now. Gonna be hard for you to stop now. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in.